Hey everybody, we're 38 minutes late, but we're actually starting the show. We had some Google Plus problems tonight, but um, we're here. We're going to talk Transformers. We're going to have some fun. Before we get started on anything, I want to go ahead and uh, mention our sponsors, Captured Prey. Great toys, great prices, great service. And I also want to mention Mega Toy Fan. And while we're talking about Mega Toy Fan, I want to go ahead and mention that right now, they are running a contest on TFYLP's Facebook page and maybe on their Facebook page. I'm not entirely sure about that second detail. Um, but they're looking for a slogan. So if you get on there, post a slogan, it can be funny, it can be serious, whatever. It's up to the whims of Brett. He's going to read them, and whatever he likes, he's going to win. If you win the contest, he says he's got something for you. So, post those slogans up. Got a couple here, Scott Brining posted, Mega Toy Fans, we got your toys right here.
Give them
Lamont
back.
Howard, Mega Toy Fan, maximize your collection and terrorize the competition. I'm particular that one, that's sort of like the Beast Wars twist. But those are just a couple of examples. We need more slogans for Mega Toy Fan. They need a slogan so that we can mention it and get tongue-tied.
Mega Toy Fan, you kill it, we grill it.
For both our sponsors. Um, so I have with me today Don.
Hey, everybody.
We got Jim.
Greetings, Internet.
And we've got Jason, aka Plasticon, making his triumphant return to the land of Transformers
I am
for your
back.
listening pleasure.
I have been on a hiatus because life has been getting in the way every Friday for me. This is the first time I've actually had a chance to actually sit down and be here for you guys. I am sorry I've been gone. If any of you guys have been following me on Facebook, you probably know everything that's been going on. And on my YouTube, I just recently put up 2 music videos that are for a band that I actually shot over the past week or so. It's actually turned out pretty good. So I've been doing a lot of video stuff lately. So been pretty heavy on that kind of thing. So, but I haven't forgot about you guys. I've actually got a lot of Transformer stuff in the works as well. So.
Well, and we are jealous of the barbecue that you have in your vicinity. No matter how wrong Don is.
I just got done having
no.
great.
We're not going to start a barbecue
Texas
war.
I know. I'm just going to say. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with his Texas-based barbecue. There's nothing wrong with Kansas City. But everyone knows North Carolina vinegar-based rules. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I'm partial to meat, so.
Like
serve it up for me.
And moving along.
and I'm obviously here, your fumble mouth host that's named after a blue car that chases after red cars. And we're gonna talk.
He's the Beast Wars fan.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about Transformers Prime tonight because tomorrow, at least here in the U.S., Transformers Robots in Disguise airs its premiere 2-parter episodes. So we wanted to sort of go into this new cartoon, having a discussion about its predecessor. So we're going to start right into Prime Season 1, Season 2. Does anyone want to take us into it?
Well, I will. We saw some previews of Prime early on. We were all getting really excited about this because it was something definitely different from what we've had in the past. Whole new network, whole new setup of rules. I think what got a lot of us was just the quality of the CGI. Even though there was some issues at first, it was just a really good looking show initially, compared to what a lot of people were thinking. I know there was improvements made as the show progressed, smoothing, better shadows, things such as that. But it was by the end it was a very beautiful show. The only thing is with CGI, of course, you just sort of limit your characters you can have, all the different modes. It's the same thing was with the Green Lantern animated series. That's why you only had like 5 Green Lanterns, which is with the CGI animation involved. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this series. I thought it had a great cast of characters. Uh, Everyone knows that I love the human characters. I thought they were very well done, and an important part of the show, probably more than maybe any other character in the past, except maybe Sorry. Probably Sorry is equal to them as far as importance in the show. Uh, I have a few issues with the final episode for various reasons, but I'll bring that up later. But overall, I thought it was a very well done show. It's just I think what hurt it is that it was so hard to find a way to watch it when it aired because of just the issues with the hub. I think if it had been on an easier station to see, not exactly Portal Network, but somewhere else, maybe we would have gotten season 4 and 5 like they were wanting to do at one point with a 5-year arc. So.
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah, the hub I think was a decent thing to try, but I don't think it panned out the way it intended.
If they could have somehow bumped down to a lower level tier on most cable providers, again, I don't know how all this works. I'm sure someone out there can tell me why I'm wrong and be perfectly correct about it. But if it could have been part of a more basic package, or maybe just a basic tier up, so more people would have gotten it. I think we would have gotten those last 2 seasons that they had originally wanted to do a 5-season story.
Well, it took the place of Discovery Kids in that same cable package, that same tier.
Yeah. And
the only reason why I can possibly think, considering I'm the one here with the film background and all that kind of stuff, I think a lot of it drove to advertising. A lot of people out there don't understand when it comes to these package deals that the cable stuff and such they offer. They have certain kind of advertising on those. It's like you change stations, you don't always see the same advertising on every station. So it possibly was because it was more advertised driven. It's like when you go watch like Nickelodeon's going to have a lot of more kids based advertising versus Dawn liquid soap or advertising vehicles or some kind of sports drink or something like that. So you're going to see a major difference in the channel layout. So honestly, and possibly it could have been because Hasbro might have fronted a lot of money thinking that was going to be the best decision. So, and that's usually sometimes the case.
Well, they did advertise the hub on a lot of Hasbro products at the store. Like
those stickers were
the Lux figure, everything. It says as seen on the hub network or whatever they called it.
Yeah, I mean those little purple and white stickers were on everything there at the initial launch for the toys, and even on non-Prime toys. I remember seeing it on. I don't know. I just remember seeing it on other Transformer toys that weren't actually based on Prime characters.
Prime had it. Generations had it.
Yeah.
Not sure. I want to say Rescue Bots too had it on there.
Well, I think it did because Rescue Bots was starting about the same time too.
Yeah. Maybe even MLP, and I'm not positive on that one. I think the Tonys had it.
Well, it wasn't just. I mean, to be honest, it wasn't just the Transformers toys. We also had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys. There was a lot of stuff like.
Hello?
And I think we've lost him.
Yeah. So what happens when you mention Ninja Turtles on a Transformers podcast? Oh, crap.
But the one thing about season 1 that I really wish that they could have kept, I wish they could have kept The Rock as Cliffjumper. I think Cliffjumper would have added a little bit more of a dynamic to the group.
I agree.
Just to give a little. I mean, not the. I mean, this RC was a great RC. I love Bulkhead. I like this Ratchet, the old crotchety Ratchet. I love this Ratchet. The whole Prime group, with the exception of Bumblebee, because I don't like Minicon Bumblebee, who can only speak in beeps and talks. You know, I don't like that Bumblebee. Thank God they got Real Friedel to do the voice again. But I think if they could have kept The Rock as Cliffjumper, or done something to give Cliffjumper a similar voice, it's sort of like what they did. I'm going to mention Ninja Turtles and probably get dropped, but they added Seth Green doing the voice of Leonardo this past season, and they explained it in the show as based on some trauma when he was fighting Shredder. So even if The Rock could not have stayed on due to his movie and other commitments, they could have somehow explained a voice box issue or a synthesizer issue, whatever the case may be. But I think his character would have added a lot of energy. And I have to say, instead of say Miko and Bulkhead, imagine Miko and Cliffjumper.
That could have been fun.
That could have been a lot of fun.
Actually, that could have been really fun.
No, it's like you're supposed to watch it, but I guess you could say Will Jack sort of took over the Cliffjumper role to a degree.
Yeah.
But
it being a wrecker and all.
Yeah, he was in there so.
But was Cliffjumper a wrecker?
No, Cliffjumper wasn't a wrecker.
Okay, I didn't remember for sure.
Yeah, he wasn't a wrecker, but Will Jack was on there so sporadically, especially through the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That he really got a taste of him, and then he was gone for like 7 episodes or 8 episodes, and he would come back for an episode and vanish again. So
almost like Skids in G1. Just show up. Hi, bye.
Hi, bye. Hi, I'm part of the throne. Bye.
Buy my toy.
Well, I think honestly, like when it comes to Cliffjumper, I mean, a lot of people like the character and all that stuff. You know, obviously it was a Rock playing as him. I think what it was is Hasbro probably fronted a lot of money at the beginning to get him involved, and they probably just didn't have enough money in order to keep him in the actual seasons. So
this was actually a long running problem in the show as it progressed. You know, they had Gina Torres as Arachnid. They had Adam Baldwin as Breakdown. They kept bringing in these big stars, and then they would set up some plot lines, but then the character would go away or die, and they would never really resolve it. And I always felt it was because they were just too they'd gotten too expensive actors. Just for names.
I mean, that's how it works. This is some insight for you guys out there that don't understand how seasons are made and such. What happens is they hire on the actors and stuff for that season. And as they are airing that season, they are working on the following season. That's how it works. A lot of people don't realize that, you know, once you guys watch that season's already been filmed. It's like with The Walking Dead and all this stuff. Why do you think it takes so long for the next season to come out? Because they're still filming it. So they try to stay ahead of the game by releasing a season ahead. It's normally the rule of 3. It's like in Hollywood, a lot of us have been seeing a lot of trilogies come out. It's because a producer goes up, and for them to get the money fronted, they have to have 3 movies normally scripted, ready to go. Once they get them filming and shooting the first one, they're on to the next one. And that's how it works. It's the same thing with seasons. So I think that it was probably the issue, is they couldn't book those voice actors. Plus those voice actors might have been doing some other gig during that time, so they had to schedule around them as well.
Right.
So
and
And that's a big thing a lot of people don't understand about the business. There is a lot of red tape involved, but
well, and they were
it's
paying Peter Cullen and Frank Welker all the time.
Yeah. Well, also one thing to remember is, like Plasticon was saying, that's why we've never got Frank Welker at BotCon. The man literally does not know where he's going. His assistant keeps him on track on where he's going to be the next week. He literally can't, and he actually told the BotCon organizers this. He literally cannot plan anything more than a couple days out because his schedule is booked so full. He does not know where he's going to be 4 days from now. So that could have been the same for Mr. Baldwin, Gina Torres, and everybody else that, they were doing it while they had the time, like Plasticon was saying, and then they just did not have the time, and instead of just phoning in a bad performance, because I mean, I'm sure they were getting well paid for it, but I don't think they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't enjoy the show too, to a degree.
Yeah.
So,
now
unfortunately,
has he ever been to a BotCon, Frank Welker?
No, he did. Now, someone out there will, because again, I've been to all BotCons but one in '97. But after this point, they all run together, so I can't remember individual years anymore to a degree. But Peter, I think it was the first year Peter Cullen was there. He actually sent a audio tape, him as Megatron and Soundwave, saying that he wished he could be there to fight his longtime nemesis, Peter Cullen. And I'm sure it's on YouTube or something. I'm sure it's out there. It's still out there. But that could also be just the reason is they just literally didn't have the time to do it, like you said, Plasticon. But also the fact that they didn't want to do a crappy performance and just decided just to bow out while they could.
Well, I mean, and that's a lot of it. Most people don't realize when it comes to booking voice actors, it's very difficult. Myself, I've got a really big project that a lot of guys that know that I've been working on, and I've asked, trying to get everybody lined up to actually do that kind of stuff is very difficult. Sometimes I have to basically send a script to somebody. They do the voice acting and stuff, and they send it back to me, and then sometimes the audio might not be the best or something like that, and then sometimes you have to work around that because sometimes these guys have to do it during a different time. They don't necessarily get brought into a studio to do some of this stuff. Sometimes they have to be brought in just like a small little soundproof booth that's convenient at the time to just get it done.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very difficult to match it with the animation. I mean, the way things are nowadays, it's not like it used to be years ago where they would literally play the cartoon in front of the actor, and then the actor would try to match his voice to what's going on with the action on the screen. It's not like that nowadays. Nowadays they pre-record and then they put it in.
I want to say the last time I think they did that with a Transformers series would have been the original Robots in Disguise for 2001, because I remember there was footage a while back had Wally Burr, who was Sideburn, recording some lines involving Fortress Maximus. There was a whole thing about that, and he was in the booth watching the scene over and over.
Well, I mean, it's different. Like, okay, I know some of you guys hate Michael Bay, whatever. But let's take that movie for instance. You've got, they bring in Peter Cullen to do a lot of the voice acting, but guess what? Peter Cullen's got other stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever his part is brought up for Optimus Prime, they actually bring him to that studio because they got enough dinero to do what they want. But when you have a low budget thing, and I hate to say it, Hasbro is not one of the most high budget people. They got a lot of toy lines and stuff like that they have to cover, but they don't have a lot of money to be able to throw into media. So they have to be very, very discreet on what they're dropping money on and how they're booking people and how much money they're giving these people. So sometimes they have to get what they get given to them.
Yeah. Well, I as far as the disappearing characters go, to me personally, the Lost Cliff Jumper was the worst, just because of what might have been with this character involved in the mix. Breakdown, I really got to like. Breakdown and Knockout was just a really good duo. Yeah. And it's weird, Knockout, after Breakdown was taken out of the series, Knockout still continued to be such a strong character, usually if you're part of a duo and you lose half your duo, you lose a lot of the rhythm. But he was still a great character.
Yeah.
But I think Breakdown's loss was the worst as far as him just sort of Arachnid just killing him outright, and then boom, that's all you see until Silas starts wearing his body around. Spoilers.
Yeah,
But then
it kind
Arachnid,
of felt like a kind of a ransack and crumple zone again, you know.
yeah, but funny.
Yeah.
But the Arachnid, at least she came back out of the stasis pod, and her becoming the vampire and all that. At least her arc kind of got a tiny bit of closure. But her just stuck on the moon, we kind of just felt like we don't know what else to do. We'll leave it open for the future. Heck, she might show up in new Robots in Disguise. You never know.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the loss of Breakdown was the worst of the leaving actors, as far as the character goes. But as far as the overall series, I think losing Cliffjumper's presence was the biggest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But
there's times that I mean, we all know that, you know, Hasbro tends to use names, and when they use these names, they sometimes lose those names over not using that license for so long.
Right.
I've been kind of wondering, why did they bring in Skyquake for such a short time, and then all of a sudden he's gone? Does that mean in the future possibly going to get another Skyquake character? Are we going to get like a you know, one of the new Minor Wars kind of things, looking like Skyquake or something like that from G1, or what are we going to get? You know, and I know some people say, "Oh, he's G2." No, he's not. He's G1. He came out before that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it could have been maybe the reason the character came and went so fast was his toy got pushed back or was moved completely to a different assortment. So that Skyquake's toy character was put in the show initially because the toy would be coming out around the same time. But if the toy gets moved back, or it's going to be a completely different character like it was in Dreadwing, then they probably had to change the story in mid-production, or at least had to have, you know, they couldn't have a character around in the show wasting CGI slots. There was no toy to sell. So I'm always thinking that was probably something to do, as the toy got moved back, so they didn't have the character in the show eating up CGI budget without a toy to sell on the shelf.
That's true, but I mean, how many times have we seen them where they'll take a toy, put it on the shelf, it's literally a recolor of something else, just to save that name?
Shark to
I mean,
contact.
like what they did with they did with Smokescreen during that line. You had Smokescreen that came out with the Arms Micron, which was a repaint of Knockout, and then later on comes out with his own individual mold.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know.
I mean, we even had that. So
Yeah.
and then
there
it
could
was
be
repainted again as Prowl.
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know all the ins and outs of why we lost some of these characters. That'll be good for this coming BotCon. Is if if there's any way we can ask with the new Robots in Disguise coming out, having a lot of the same people, we may get our answers to these questions. Like for me, the big question is, how far is new RID set in the future from Prime? So because if we can get a sense of time between the shows, we have an idea of what and who we may or may not see. And I think I'm not jumping ahead. I'm thinking out loud here. We're probably not going to see any type to shows except maybe basic. Like Bone will be talking about being on Earth for a while and having listened to this group or that music or whatever the case may be. So there'll be ties to what happened before. But us being character-specific show, my God, what is wrong? Specific characters showing up like Arachnid, you know. So specific characters like Arachnid showing up in this new format, or hopefully Miko, Raph, and Jack will show up at some point. but we don't know how old they're going to be at this point.
Hopefully, Miko and Jack are standing over Raph as he's just a splatter on the ground because some Decepticon accidentally stepped on him.
Woo, that's
Come on, dude, you didn't
we
like
just
Raph.
took
I liked Raph.
we just took
I thought he was cool.
went to a dark place. So anyway, that's I think the better, not just making these ties, but making the ties make sense will benefit both shows.
Well,
I can see Raph, he's going to come up with some crazy device in order to scoop Raph up and turn him into some glob or something and stick him in a incubator.
It's called a dust devil. Just
It sticks him in this thing, and he's like this
Did you just
praying
whip
like creature or something.
Cybertronian Swifters. Well, the planet's made of metal. I mean, you got to have something to keep it from being dusty.
Oh, dude, it'd be horrible if they did that and they put him in this canister, and then all of a sudden he becomes a quintesson of some sort.
Don't give Cyber any ideas.
No, he'd probably be more like one of those heads from Futurama.
I thought
That or
when
all
it
his
comes
head
to
is
the human characters, I thought Miko was a very strong character.
Yeah.
I liked
Just
Jack
badly
Nice
written. Just badly written at times.
at times, but I mean, I grew to really like her. She was sort of like Sorry 2.0. I really liked Sorry in animated.
I would have liked them to bring Sari into Prime.
Yeah.
Well, they could have maybe
A
with
different version of her.
like aligned continuity, but I don't think it covered that much. But we did get, we got mask reference. We got a mask reference in Prime. That was kind of cool.
Yes.
Did you guys hear that they're supposed to be trying to do something with Mask and G.I. Joe pretty soon?
Yeah, they
fall.
and Visionaries.
Knights of the Magical Light.
Yes.
I have a feeling we're going to see a resurgence of that pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I've got a again. This is a little off tangent, but
No, it's off topic, but sorry.
But I think what we're going to be seeing is everybody just blacked out.
Google's being weird today, folks. So
So everyone.
We even got this thing working, by the way. So.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I got a feeling just what you're going to be seeing with Visionaries, G.I. Joe, and Mask being a human-centric group. I think we're going to be seeing a similar size or same size figure across the board. That way, they can swap more parts out between the three series.
Oh, that would be excellent.
More than that, what would make sense to me, honestly, is given how G.I. Joe hasn't been doing so hot as of late, due to the second movie.
You don't know about it? They pretty much have canceled the entire line, dude.
Yeah, with the line's 50th anniversary and then being no figures on the shelf.
They've canceled it. It's been completely canceled. They haven't.
Well, no.
said it.
Well, Plascon, there's a new brand manager.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So there's a new brand manager. But
with the G.I. Joe though, what I think we're probably going to end up seeing for Visionaries and Mask to be able to work well, I think it's going to interconnect with G.I. Joe in the fiction as well. Honestly.
Yeah, well,
and not quite like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, but something akin to it. Like they would be aware of one another's existence, maybe team up, crossover.
Okay, another crazy crossover I would like to see. And I know some people are going to rage about this, but I would love to see them bring GoBots more into Transformers. Somehow bring them in.
I could see that working amazingly
I
well.
would love to see that because
I mean,
not necessarily
Hasbro has
having
those
the craziness, but I mean, I know they have harks to it every now and then, but I mean, I want to see them bring in some full-fledged characters. Give us a leader that turns into a jet.
Yeah.
Everybody would love that.
I mean, Hasbro has those characters, so I mean, and you do see some of them in like IDW stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the problem there is
Jetfire.
Bandai.
Yeah, you know the new Jetfire. Take that thing and somehow convert it over to make it a Leader One.
Yeah, but the problem there is still Bandai.
Yeah, because
Bandai is still making GoBot toys.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, Bandai's making Machine Robo Rescue, not GoBots. GoBots and Machine Robo Rescue were two different cartoons.
They could argue that it's very
well, guys,
simple to make that jump.
Yeah, I can answer this question because we asked them at BotCon last year, and basically Hasbro owns all the rights to the GoBot names and fiction. They don't own the character likenesses based on the toy because that's Bandai.
So update it, like
Yeah,
classics.
but I'm just saying,
We
but
got
believe me,
Fracture.
we asked them. Yep, exactly.
We got Fracture.
But
We got Bug Bite.
yeah.
Just
but
change the appearance.
exactly. But as far as Prime goes, let me ask y'all this with season one.
Hey
Again,
guys,
spoilers. You know,
gun
spoilers.
face.
Yeah.
Sorry, gun
That's all right.
face.
Nice.
But and I'm quoting River Song here. Spoilers.
Like you want lockdown.
Yeah, for you Doctor Who fans.
Wait a minute. I got a question. Is this the official first gun face ever?
No.
G1 lockdown.
This is G1. This is Diaclone.
Yeah.
No,
That's
no, it's something your Nexus infested barbecue fevered mind made up. No,
Sorry, I know I was off topic. Go
Well,
ahead.
but season one, okay. And again, spoilers if you've not watched Prime, okay. Give you a second to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, season 1 Starscream was awesome. Yeah.
oh, come on. They've had 5 years.
Or
Yeah,
No
I know, I'm just
excuses.
saying. But someone's gonna say you should have said. Do you think starting with Unicron was a really bad idea? It's like, where do you go from there? It's like, they wound up going to some good interest. I mean, where they went in season 2 and 3 was very interesting. I'm just wondering why
Well, let's
Unicron
not
that
say
scene.
anything about season 2 was interesting.
Well,
But,
there was some good episodes.
Season
far
2
and
was
few
bad.
between. I don't know. The first half of season 2, the quest for Gubbins was pretty, or the MacGuffins was pretty stupid. I didn't like it, but back to your topic. Did they
We must
Did
collect
they-
the gold parts.
blow the Unicron load too soon? Maybe.
I wouldn't have praised it like that. I just said, do you think they should have?
Yeah.
I mean, unless they wanted to finish strong with season 1 from a rating standpoint to guarantee a season 2, I can see them pulling out the big guns to save the series if they thought they needed to. But really, it's just Unicron season 1 finale.
On the one hand, I can see that being, too over the top and too much too soon. But at the same time, we didn't actually see a planet-sized Unicron. We saw
Avatars.
incarnations of it, form out of the surface
Well,
of the Earth.
we saw a planet-sized Unicron every time they zoomed out on
Earth.
Earth.
Yeah. Well, he was the core. He wasn't actually the planet.
Yeah.
But that being said, though, having him in there in that capacity helped to set up the whole explanation for the Dark Energon, which then carried through the rest of the series through all 3 seasons.
And I think if you
Really, that was like the central theme.
If you ended
Yeah.
with Optimus Prime eliminating the threat, and let's say there was only one season,
Mhm.
then it would have been, just fine. It did cause for season 2 to be a little lackluster. At the very beginning, it's like,
Well,
you already fight Unicron. How much?
yeah,
Where can it really go from there?
and
And
then
the answer is Unicron eventually.
yeah, and
Chronotron.
yeah, and the thing, and then it turned into kind of like
Megatron.
yeah, and then it turned into basically let's hunt for the relic of the week, which every series falls into. I mean,
Yeah.
nearly every series has a hunt for the relic, hunt for the Pokemon of the week kind of thing
Yeah.
going on.
Mini
Wait,
comics, Opar.
Okay. I have to admit this. Back in G1, at least, when they did that on the Generation 1 stuff, it actually worked. But G.I. Joe, during the same time, was doing the same stuff.
Yeah, the
That
Weather Dominator that
Prime
splits into 3
Hunt for the
evenly
relic, and
complete
then they
parts.
lose it anyway. So,
Yeah, I like the fact
it's
that
no
Weather Dominator.
rag on G.I. Joe. I love
Oh, I
G.I.
know.
Joe, but I mean, it's the
Yeah,
same
I like
thing.
the fact
It's like,
that
good Lord.
I like the fact that Weather Dominator split into three easy parts, not just a shrapnel of parts, three basic parts. But now season 2, I think it started out a bit
And the world could be ruled by a floppy disk.
But we all knew Prime was going to get his memory back. That was kind of a given. Now they didn't do it right away, which I appreciate them doing that. They actually kept it going for a while because Megatron and Prime does have this long backstory before the war, so it did make a kind of sense. But you kind of knew it was going to happen sooner or later, and then you knew all these relics and stuff was going to be the MacGuffins of the season. So it starts off a little weaker, but it doesn't get to be a bad season at all. It's just again after you know Prime.
See, the problem with me, the problem with season 2 is it's the season of non-committal plot lines. You know, it's like, is Breakdown gonna go to the Autobots? Because it sort of seems like that for a while, but no. And it was like, you know, how is Bulkhead gonna cope with his injuries? Oh, he's gonna get better in 2 episodes.
Well, but at least it wasn't the next episode, though. You know, at least it showed him
but
recovering.
The problem I always had with
they did that. I mean, they didn't just he's all of a sudden better. I like the idea
but they did. That's the problem. Even if it was stretched across 2 episodes, it still didn't feel satisfying. It was sort of like, I'm grumpy, I was beaten. And then 1 episode, he's just like, oh, okay, I'm fine now.
I thought you were injured, Bulkhead. Oh, no, that was last week.
Yes.
My legs severed. Walking off.
Yeah. But here's the good thing. We did get, because of that injury, we did at least get that great story with RC's background before she came to Team Prime on Cybertron with Cliffjumper. Yeah. And that was, and she was trying to get Miko to relate to, you know, the loss of a partner and all that kind of stuff. So
and we got David K. Hardshell. I'm just saying, David K. is always good. You can never go wrong with David K.
But this is my question: do you guys think that episode with Cliffjumper? Do you believe that was filmed during the same time as the pilot episode?
No,
that wasn't the same.
Different voice actor. Different voice actor.
Okay. I didn't
The Rock was in Darkness Rising, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for the first 10 minutes.
I wasn't sure who did voice act him then.
Not
Who
sure.
was the voice actor?
I'm not sure. It was,
To the interwebs.
I don't think he said a lot in that episode. But it was definitely a different voice actor.
yeah.
They should have just started with a different voice actor from the beginning and kept Cliffjumper around. He was a cool, you know, that old muscle car was a cool character. But I know we talked about that earlier. But yeah, I mean, I thought that season had a lot of good backstory. Like, you really started to see that Megatron understands Optimus and respects Optimus. He knows his enemy. They were friends at one time, and Optimus knows Megatron. He knows his enemy. He wants to change. They're both vying to change each other's ideals. They want the other one to see that they're right, and that's what this season set up. But I couldn't get past all the, you know, every time they set up a plot line and it was like could go somewhere that a kid's cartoon never really treads. It could be something that's very interesting, you know, something that's very thought-provoking, you know, not deep, not dark necessarily, but it could, you know, it could set up plot lines to rival what Beast Wars did, and then it was like, and then the writers 2 episodes later sort of backed off of it. They're like, no, we can't take it that far. We can't really do anything with that. And so I wanted Prime for the longest time. I'm like, I really want this to to Blossom. I would be perfectly fine if everyone was saying, was like, Prime is just as good as Beast Wars and just as good as animated, but they never committed to anything to get it to that point. Is the problem I had, especially in the first 2 seasons. Um,
Not to get too far off topic, but still vaguely on topic-ish. It seems Cliffjumper had 3 English voice actors over the course of the series. First one being Dwayne Johnson, of course, The Rock, in Darkness Rising Part 1. Billy Brown was for the episode Out of the Past. And then the Terracon Cliffjumper, where he's a zombie, was Frank Welker.
Oh,
I did not know that.
I did not either.
Frank Welker does everybody.
No kidding.
Zombies.
And on that topic, I mean, this is the and I don't know if you guys already talked about this, but Prime was Welker and Colin's coming back basically into the cartoons.
Yeah.
I personally thought Colin was a little bit boring, but then they also went with that stoic Prime. I really hate what they've been doing with Optimus Prime lately. He's become such a monotone character. He's really not that interesting. But on the other hand,
I've noticed that too.
on the other hand, Welker's Megatron was amazing. I mean, he rivals. He's in my top 3 Megatrons, right? It's Beast Wars Megatron, animated Megatron, Prime Megatron. Prime Megatron was an amazing character. And I'm not a fan.
Mine's a little different there.
Well, see, yeah, I'm not a fan of G1 Megatron's voice. And I know people are going to be like, crucify him, stick him up, and...
Send all letters of hate to Sideburns.
Yeah. I don't care. I grew up with the best Megatron. Your points are invalid.
No, I agree. I know people in the fandom who have a very special place for G1 Megatron, and that's their opinion. That's cool. No problem. It's just, I know people that will fight you to the death on that.
Yeah. I didn't like the graveliness, the really high pitch, but the way he brought this Megatron down, I was like, man, he's a bad guy, and you could tell it, but he's smart, and he's collected, and, he was just a really cool Megatron.
To me, even though they're not the same character, to me, the Prime and Prime Megatron seem to be a lot more older, more mature versions of the G1 characters. Just because they seem like they were a lot more... Prime seemed like he was a lot more war-weary, so he was carrying a lot of that weight even more than his G1 counterpart. And that just always struck me as they were older incarnations of what we saw in G1. They were already old in G1. This is them another or 2 for the fighting top of all that.
Well, but then I think RC said something when, I think Miko asked RC, and she basically said, oh, well, Primes are just emotionless like that. They're sort of machines. I mean, even the Autobots all the other Autobots sort of said,
well, focus.
Primes are just, they're different than everyone else,
I have to admit, I think probably my favorite character out of them was Ultra Magnus. I was a big fan of that. But
well, this taking Ultra Magnus was he was kind of animated, kind of G1.
He was spot on. He was very spot on.
Kind of a good blend.
And hello, Tobias.
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry about the delay.
That's all right.
Well, I said you were thinking one bad podcast. One bad podcast. So no one blames you.
Excuse me?
No,
He was saying you were probably bed podcast.
yeah, you're trying to decide between the two.
No one would blame you if you chose the bed. Beds are comfortable, and they're pretty good for sleeping. That's a fact. Okay, that.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the problem. I'm blaming the technique. I'm
Oh,
sorry if I look perplexed here, but your guy's not coming through that well. You're breaking up all the time when you're talking.
We're having a lot of problems with Google Hangouts tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so we're just bearing with it. Hopefully this goes out to all the listeners as something that is at least a little bit, you know,
Useful.
watchable.
you can comprehend it just a little bit. Hopefully.
Well, Tobias, we were talking about season 1, season 2, roughly. We talked about characters that like break down Arachnid and Clipper that kind of fell away from the mainstream. That we lost them characters, we lost the voice artists. Um, we were talking about did they use Unicron too soon in the series? Things like that. Have you got any general thoughts on season 1 and 2?
Sorry if I got what for season 1 and 2.
If you have any thoughts on season 1 and 2 of Prime.
Not other than I really enjoyed it because this was the first Transformers show that I actually followed live, so to say. Because animated, I picked up I think 2 years after it was broadcast. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the show, and I really liked it, the characters and everything about it. And honestly, I can't remember all that good season 1 and 2. The last season and
It has been a while.
the upcoming Predacons Rising and so forth and so on. In that discussion, I can join in more vividly.
Well, we were also talking about, like, I was saying how I felt that if we could have kept Cliff Jumper series, I think it would have added a really unique energy to the show too. That's one thing I was thinking.
So, what are your opinions on the whole Unicron thing? Did they use Unicron too early in the series? That's one thing we've discussed here.
If they used him too early?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, he was at the end of season 1, and pretty much the season 1 ends with them defeating Unicron. And
Yeah.
do you feel like they went to the? Because typically in our fandom, Unicron is the big bad. And did they go to that too soon? I guess.
I don't think so. I never.
Yep.
I never had that feeling when I watched it. I think it was cool that Unicron appeared as he did as well. He looked like a giant tree monster or something like that.
Well, and so what did you all think about? What did you all think about Unicron being Earth? I mean, is that?
Yes,
that was kind of
cool.
unique.
Gaia.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I really like that.
Yes.
Because you sort of think about the difference between Transformers and humans, and the fiction has always been that humans are sort of unpredictable and a bit chaotic compared to the Transformers, even though they're fighting a million-year war or millions of years of war. And so to have them be, Unicron's, I don't know, spawn basically was a pretty unique take on it. It was sort of like you had the sons of Primus fighting for the good of the sons of Unicron, being humanity.
Well, he didn't care. Prime said, "These are your kids." I still hold that.
Don's breaking up really bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not picking up hardly anything.
I'm sorry.
I do have here's a thought, and this is kind of an unsung hero in
Oh.
the Prime stuff, but
Somebody killed
what about
Raph.
Tailgate? No. What about Tailgate? It was literally going to possibly maybe be a repaint of Cliffjumper.
Well,
Yeah.
and he
Well, he was in the
he was
Legends
a
scale.
Legends class. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't it interesting that they never gave us a deluxe toy of that? Or, I mean, I thought it was cool that they actually
I'm hoping
mentioned
we'll
him,
get that
but
in a
there
box
was
on set at
really
some
nothing.
point.
I don't.
I
Yeah,
would
I
love
mean,
to see a battle damaged version of him. That'd be pretty neat.
that would be a great BotCon thing if they ever tackle Prime. But
I would
I
have
don't.
loved to see
I don't
Spray.
think it was too surprising. The Cliffjumper molds weren't that great. They really weren't.
Are you sure that car mode was pretty hot?
It was,
Yeah.
but the overall, those toys. I don't think I ever had a hard time finding a Cliffjumper.
I think it was the
And for a
bolt ones.
character that was, I think all we ever really saw was a silhouette and the lower half of his body.
Yeah.
So
But if you look at it, it looked just like Cliffjumper.
yeah, I mean, because they're reusing
Except it was-
assets at that point.
Yeah, we didn't even get to see
Well, I mean,
Spray on
you-
screen.
that's
We
all
saw
you
his ship blow up.
Yeah.
That's what Hasbro is notorious for repainting everything. Everything gets
Oh,
a
and like
repaint.
Takara hasn't thrown a gold or black repaint out either.
I mean,
Oh,
come
yeah.
on, look. This guy, why do you think he was invented? For one
I
reason.
mean, was Tailgate in the comics
Oh,
at
that
the
guy?
time?
Yeah, this guy. He's
Alpha-
made for
Okay.
possibly
Bravo.
2 to 3 different molds.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
Blades, Vortex.
They repaint
I
everything.
don't think he's going to be Vortex. I'm more of the opinion now that he's going to be Blastoff.
I
can see him working for Blast Off too, if done right.
it's a possibility it might be Blast Off, but it could be Vortex because you think
If he's
about it,
Vortex,
tail
if he's
portion
Vortex,
here is just mushroom pegged in. You can pop it out, and they can easily put a different piece in.
Yeah.
This right here's got a pin, so I mean they're gonna. I mean,
if he's
what would they
Vortex,
do here?
I'm disappointed because I want his blades to be able to spin in combined mode, and Alpha Bravos really can't.
honestly,
They'll probably
I
remold
can
that.
see an indie toy company probably coming up with a solution to fix these.
But I think he could be very easily made into a Blastoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a shuttle. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cliffjumper, I was while we were down video wise. One of my favorite versions of Cliffjumper, Great Charger.
Ah,
Oh, fun.
Yeah, the translucent one.
Yeah, but I have to say this is probably one of. If someone told me to pick 2 molds from Prime that really showcased the different kinds of engineering they had, it would either be the Wind Charger mold or the PRID Viacon version, because both are brilliant transformations.
Wind Charger. What do you mean?
Well, Cliffjumper, but I call him Great Charger.
Oh. I would choose. I mean, you would have to go with this guy.
Yes, I agree with him on
He's
that.
one of the best. in
Oh,
the
there's a
series.
surprise. The guy with
Why
the
do you-
looks like Wheeljack thinks Wheeljack is the best character.
And to be honest, a lot of guys know that I got out of collecting the generations and stuff like that. I downsized my collection, but I
Get back
did
in.
stay and keep. I don't care what anybody says. The Cybertron downshift. That is
Oh
flipping
yeah.
Wheeljack.
Oh definitely.
I kept that one. I've
Why,
got
sir?
2 different versions of the generations Wheeljack because
sir?
I've got one that is it's Ripper labeled and the other one is not. And I do have the Beast Hunters and the Prime Wheeljacks because I collect every Wheeljack I possibly can. And there are a few I don't have. I got G1 and G2 Wheeljack, which a lot of people don't know about G2 Wheeljack yet. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. There's pictures of some of you guys. Some of you guys that follow my G2 stuff, you've already seen pictures of them. There will be a commercial pretty soon too.
The Computron was pretty interesting.
Hey, I got a lot of them. Trust me.
All right, so I think we
I got
have
a whole
covered
shelf. It's all G2.
the first two seasons.
It's what I call my rainbow shelf.
So I think we've covered the first two seasons pretty well. So we're gonna move on to the stuff that's probably better on everybody's mind because it's the most recent. You know, it only ended a year ago, and that is
About two.
season 3, which is when we went to the subtitle of Beast Hunters
Oh, yes.
and the Predacons Rising movie that wrapped the series up.
Beast Hunters even had a slightly different theme song.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
big.
they edited the intro
Drums.
sequence and everything.
Yep. Yeah, this is minor, I know, but I love it when a series actually alters the credits as the show progresses. Like Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes did that.
Yeah. Every episode, it was different depending on who was featured in that episode.
Exactly, and you know, Prime did that, but shows like I love Star Trek: Next Generation. For 7 years, they had the same opening credits, other than name cast changes,
Yep.
and it's like that is, you know, I that was so bad. That's the one fault I have with the show, other than season 2 and Pulaski, is just the same opening credits for 7 seasons. But I'm really glad Prime did change up their intros for Beast
Star
Hunters.
Trek. You have to stick to a standard when it comes to that stuff.
But not for 7 years.
It's Star Trek.
Nah, I
Right.
agree with Don. I mean, you just keep the same music, you even keep some of the same lines, but you throw in some new footage of different people because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
things change and become more relevant and less relevant.
And also
I
one-
understand that.
Yeah. And I think Prime was one of the last great examples. Now, there's probably shows out there that I'm not familiar with, but Prime to me is probably the last great example of a show having a full opening credit. Because so many shows at that time, such as the Thundercats reboot,
Yeah.
us getting this is my big pet peeve. I'm just going to mention it. Not having a real opening theme, I think hurts a show. Because you lose that memorable hook that people will keep with them for brand recognition long after the show.
It's the music everyone remembers. Everyone remembers the opening music to G1.
Or,
Everyone remembers the opening
Everybody
music to
remembers
Beast
the
Wars.
opening music to Mask.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
Once you hear that, it's like, oh my god, it's like...
Or
oh.
probably the one that most people will recognize, Thundercats. The opening theme to
Wait.
Thundercats. I mean,
G.I. Joe.
yeah, I mean, it's and us and
You old people and your 80s stuff.
yeah.
I just want to say.
Jam in the hologram.
I'm trying to
Guys,
keep this topic on
guys,
Transformers.
guys.
I know, but
Guys.
I'm just saying.
Guys, Gem and the holograms.
Oh yeah,
Eh,
definitely. But Mike,
By the way,
you're
hi
right.
Samantha, because she's probably been watching
Yeah.
this stuff because she's been on the cast before.
But the thing is, well, Mike, I mean, I agree with you, but that's just it. We've seen the 2 openings for the new Robots in Disguise. One is a short, almost not a non-opening opening, and the other is about a 30, 45-second opening. And I've got a feeling that CN is going to, of course, pick the shorter opening so they can get more commercials in there.
Yeah, they will eventually, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's just,
And,
you know,
and that is unfortunate. I mean, when I think back, the series that I remember most, every time I think about Beast Wars, I think about their opening, the opening sequence. The first RID back in 2001, I think
Mhm.
about its opening sequence. Transformers Animated, that had a great opening sequence. And those are just sort of the things that you think about when you think to those. I mean, you think back to
It's not always the opening sequence. It's usually the music. If they have something different with the music,
well, we're taking that as a whole.
Recognize
Yeah, but if you go back to something like Armada, where it was like, here's some exposition on something that you've heard 20 times about stupid minicons.
Yeah.
No one cares. No one remembers anything about music or an intro.
Armada had I think 3 or 4 different intros over the course of the series.
Yeah, they eventually got one, but who remembers it? You remember the
They had the
annoying
first one where it's like, "Hi,
exposition.
I'm Rat, and I want to tell you about the Transformers." And then they went with one that didn't have the voiceover at all. It was just the audio,
I remember the
uh,
end credits more than the opening credits.
right? Then you got they started the Unicron battles where things were starting in that direction, and then they were actually in the Unicron battles and had that version. But overall, they kept the same theme song. So
But
they
yeah,
changed it up to keep it fresh, but they kept that continuity of that memorable tune. And
so
that's something I think is really missing.
so I'm grateful for Prime for not
Yeah.
taking the easy way out and having a 15-second opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really was. It wasn't comprised of like reuse or just like stock footage from different episodes either. It was, it was something that was well put together.
Yeah. It wasn't Transformers Season 5. No matter how awesome the commercials are, they don't make for a good opening theme, visually anyway.
Yeah. So, Beast Hunters Season 3 introduced the quest for the Predacons and introduced Predaking. We had some interesting character development in
We must
Ultra
collect all the bones.
Magnus and in Smokescreen. Um,
Mhm.
so it was really, I don't know, it sort of, for me, it sort of pulled it back from season 2. The episode with Ultra Magnus and Wheeljack, and you have Bulkhead in the middle trying to, you know,
Yeah,
both you guys, come on, we can work together. That was a spectacular episode.
that
Still
was a
one
good
of my
episode.
favorites, and I mean that just solidified it as Ultra Magnus in this. That's just an absolutely great character.
Yes, that's a really great character. And don't forget Shockwave as well. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Shockwave was well done.
Shockwave, man, he was
Freaking Shockwave. Who doesn't like Shockwave?
yeah.
You like
The
Shockwave? Get out.
toy for me was kind of, but the character
the vehicle
really
for
well
that
done.
toy suffers from, I like to call
It's
it,
the H-Tank
Revenge of the
syndrome.
Fallen Megatron
H-Tank syndrome.
Armada Megatron.
I
even.
call it H-Tank syndrome because
Well-
every tank it seems like that's come out recently is a flippin' H-Tank.
I don't
Why?
think that's
because Halo
well,
introduced the H-Tank.
I don't think
Sense,
he
guys.
suffered
There
from
are
that.
different tanks out there.
I don't think he suffered
I
from
think
the
he
fact that he's an H tank. I think he suffered from the fact that he does this, to transform, and he kind of
Yeah.
sits down. I mean, because if you look at Classics Warpath, he's
Yeah.
he's an H tank, and he's a good figure. I mean, he doesn't really suffer from that. You sort of understand. It's easier to break up those treads in a way if they're two different sections than one section. If you have to break them up, if they have to go on the arm or if they have to go on the legs.
Well, that kind of goes into the toys. I mean, one of the things I really do not like about them is how much rubber was actually involved with those, because a lot of us know from our 30-year-old toys, rubber starts to degrade over time, and I don't care what you do to treat it, it does degrade.
30-year-old
Especially with
toys.
that tread portion.
If we have to talk about 30-year-old toys, all of my original RAD toys, all their tires were cracking. I mean,
Yep.
it's
And see, it all got R&T already falling apart. I mean, I'm sure there was a few Beast Wars that had some kind of rubberized part here and there. And
not
it's
much,
just-
if at all. I don't think.
There wasn't much, but I know there's possibly some. But
Because back then they
The
didn't
point
care
I'm
if you
trying to
stabbed
get
your eyes out. They were like, have
Shockwave's
fun.
going to suffer a lot. Well, you think about it, Shockwave's going to suffer probably the most out of all those. Why? Because a tread disconnects and plugs into his gun. That's rubber.
Yeah.
So, we can see a lot of that.
Tread
happening in the future.
that tread is cosmetic though, for the most part, I think.
It is,
Because I
but
believe
mean,
it
if
tucks.
it's missing
I
that
believe it
tread,
tucks inside of. It's tucks inside of a plastic wheel. does it not? Pretty sure it does.
Yes, but it has to overlap. It overlaps the plastic and then tucks inside. I remember because I used to have the toy. Um, it's and the way it tabs in, it kind of pushes in and twists to lock. So
Yeah, I mean it's
imagine in the future, it's gonna be missing this tab.
Yep.
That's gonna be why this toy's like $300 for this stupid thing.
Yeah.
Generation One shop, right? It's like still stupid expensive.
yeah, it's I mean, but that toy is great in row up mode, which is where it needed to be great.
Well, and they did it right. The only thing I didn't like was the spinning arm gimmick, but I'm like, I can kind of look past that a little bit.
Yeah, that's
That's
like
a nice aesthetic.
kids have to have something that spins to keep their attention. Apparently.
Well,
Well,
you know,
now we just have to put electronics and little bitty scanner things on the toys. Oh wait, we haven't gotten there yet.
but, you know, it's weird. I have the Target Ultimate Predaking. That's probably 9 months old. Over a year old now at this point. I still haven't opened it because it's visually impressive. It's visually impressive in the box, but I haven't decided whether we'll open it up yet or not.
I really wanted that upscaled Predaking. I actually think it looked like the best Predaking. And it really wasn't that simple, that giant Voyager Predaking. It's
Yeah.
just, it was impossible to find in the States.
Well,
was
actually,
amazing. Fun.
Ross, Marshalls, and Targets got them near the end of the run. They were. I saw several in many discount stores.
I saw a lot of the big, those dorky looking Optimus Primes, but
Yeah,
all the
a lot of
Predakings
them.
probably got snatched up really fast.
Yeah. Now the one I did like what they did with the Beast Hunter toys. The characters that continued over that had existing molds got beastified, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You know, Wheeljack got the upgrades. The swirly plastic like war paint kind of thing, I guess you could call it that. But the characters that were new to that season got regular alt modes, which I thought was
with like snap-on parts to make them
exactly, which I thought was a really great idea. That way, you show the characters that are changing, even though the Beast Hunters, what was going on in the toy fiction, wasn't going on in the show. You still had the similar themes running, but the characters that when you were getting new characters of and new toys, they were regular Transformers and not the beastified ones. Which I thought was a really good decision on their part.
Yeah, they
To be
were.
honest,
Someone at
the only thing
Hasbro
about
had
it-
some foresight.
Well,
What was it?
one of the things I did enjoy about that. Sorry. That one of the things I did enjoy about that was like everybody has a Bumblebee, right?
Mhm.
Everybody had a Bumblebee. Well, then they released all the
Yeah,
Bumblebees with
Bumblebee.
all the blades and stuff. Because it's like, everybody had that. Same thing with Wheeljack. It was more or less a mass-produced mold. So, in order to keep from, I guess, mass-producing all these molds, they probably came up with the idea of the snap-on parts, which was great. I completely agree with you with that. I think it was an awesome move, and probably the best move for them. Although some of them rubberized, but most people didn't really
Yeah,
display
well-
them.
When I opened up my smoke screen and I opened up my shockwave, I took those stupid rubber parts, I threw them in a drawer where they will stay forever, and I'll pretend like they don't exist.
Well, I mean, it's a part that you can completely dismiss because it fits in with the aesthetic of the toys.
Yeah.
But if you want to have them all toy accurate, you kind of have to have them, especially if you decide to resell or anything like that. And there's some people, they want those parts. I don't know why, but they do. But it's those completists. Anyway, but like I was saying, I think it was a great idea and a great move. It's like, you give us a smoke screen, but why give us a smoke screen that's got a bunch of blades and crap sticking out of it? It's not so accurate. So I'm thinking they were thinking a little more ahead by saying, okay, well, let's put
hi, Don.
what you can put on there.
Hey, Ian.
Metamorphosis.
There's currently 2 of you in here.
There's 2 of them.
But
Well, Tobias, I
Yeah?
wanted to ask you. Did you get Beast Hunters late after like really long after we got it, or did it come out with about the same time?
It came out about the same time, which I was very happy about, because I was going to mention my favorite toy from the Prime toy line. But before that, I have to mention something. I don't know if you talked about this before I joined the show tonight, but the second season ended with a really cliffhanger, with the Prime's arm sticking out of some rubble or something like that. So for the 100th time, Optimus Prime was dead.
Again.
Again, yeah. But he reincarnated into something really, really cool, and that leads into my favorite toy of this toy line, and that's the Voyager class Optimus Prime from Beast Hunters. I think that was a really, really good toy, and I'm talking about a robot, not the
Not the Dragonfire. You're talking about the Voyager, right?
Yeah, that
The
one was a
Voyager,
little
yeah.
strange.
Yeah, it was a that was a really cool looking toy.
It was robust, and it was big, and looked really good. A solid
And
toy.
that was right after, because I mean we did fail to mention with the Prid line. That was when we were really going through that time period of downscaling.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
had the FOC line and Generations, which were incredibly small toys. We had they teased us with first edition, and then those were almost impossible to find. And then they brought RID out, or the Prid line, and they were smaller, you know, less, easier figures,
I don't know. I still think the Viacom from the Prid line was the best thing that ever came out of
Well,
all of
the Viacon doesn't quite count because he came out almost a year and a half later or something.
Yeah.
them. Still, honestly, it's still the best transformation out of the entire line.
Well, and
as
I'm
far
not
as
I'm not
Transformers the
disagreeing with
Batmobile.
you, but it was
it's phenomenal.
that was also when Generations was switching back into larger size figures again. I mean that's when we were started coming over that hump and we started getting well designed figures. I think the only reason we got him, who was pretty well designed in the beginning, was that, and everyone assumes that he was originally supposed to be first edition. I mean, RC was
that.
pretty well designed, and Ratchet was pretty well designed, but there was a lot of compromises in those figures.
What was weird, and what was weird, Tobias, about that Optimus Prime is we got so many little tweaking variations of that figure, because we had the Commander class, which really wasn't that much different than the Voyager. Then the Commander class got blown up to the Voyager class.
Yeah.
Plus, you had the green repaint in the Voyager class. So it's like,
what was up with
that
the green one?
nah, I don't know. I don't. I mean,
that was strange.
Oxytron.
Yeah, if it had been all,
2 version.
if it had been Allspark blue, I would have figured they were still getting rid of all that Allspark blue paint.
I figured maybe he got the Lantern ring or something. He was a Green Lantern.
I still think the very first one that came out, like the very first version of that toy, was the best.
Yeah.
'Cause it's straight up like Cybertron Prime. That's what it looked like. It was just so
Yes.
awesome.
Plus, it's
And
a mask reference. It's a
I
mask
do
reference.
have to commend Hasbro on saying, "Hey, we got this awesome sword. Let's just remold this sword for the reissue Predicate they did." So that's kudos there.
I had a double. That was a. I mean, because originally I was gonna buy that Prime. I mean, I liked him, but I was gonna give the sword to my Prid, Optimus Prime. I never got the Beast Hunters Prime, and I still kind of wish I had. Just by the time I decided to, he was off the shelves already. But when I got I had to get the reissue Predacons because they're the Predacons. And I was like, oh yeah, this sword. I don't give a crap. This isn't going with my Predaking, but it's definitely going to go with my Optimus Prime because Optimus Prime needs a Star Saber.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Beast Hunters, we saw a return to the larger scale.
Mhm.
And it of course had the running theme of Predacons, since we were talking about Predaking, and Predaking was sort of reissued in response to that. So we had this line of dragons. The Predacons were these ancient, uh, bestial transformers. I guess technically they weren't even transformers, but they were sort of the dinosaurs of Cybertron.
Maka
Um,
Mama.
but in
Blasphemy! Grimlock's the dinosaur of Cybertron.
well, he's the
Just kidding.
dinosaur of Earth of Cybertron.
Oh, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt anybody's head at all.
but
Unless it's Fall of Cybertron.
so in the show we got, by the end of it,
Space
by
Dimension.
Predacons Rising, we got 3 Predacons, and in the entirety of season 3, we had one,
Skylynx,
and we had
Dark Steel. Were the other two, right?
it's Skylynx and Darksteel.
Space.
But in the entirety of season 3, we only had Predaking. But he actually turned out to be a pretty interesting character.
Yeah.
And what did you guys think about Predaking?
I think, as he stands, I think if you take the whole character arc, including Predacons Rising, I think it's pretty good. It just took him a while to actually be more than just the muffin of the show. But he wound up being a very enjoyable character.
Yeah.
I wish they would have not had him seem like this, you know, just not non-intelligent dragon, drone. At first, when they first introduced him. I mean, I like how they eventually showed that he was more intelligent. He started planning things, and he started smacking Starscream around.
Yeah, well, and he sort of, he sort of came into it pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should have done that from the get-go. Have him to be, out and say, "Hey, I am Predaking. Don't screw with me," that type of thing.
I don't know, I think
They're
it sort
just
of gave
saying-
him a unique character to where he was sort of like, I wasn't quite sure what I was. I wasn't quite sure if I should reveal myself. And then he finally did, but he was sort of like, I didn't know. I was being a little guarded. And I kind of liked that. He wasn't. I think what made his character interesting to me is that he wasn't the gung ho Decepticon.
Right.
He was some, but he was a little more honorable, easier to sway. This is a problem I had with Prime. Is Predaking was the same as Dreadwing, was the same as a little bit of Breakdown. I felt like all 3 of those characters had a moment where you were sort of like, these guys are redeemable characters. And then none of them really got that redemption they deserved, or...
Well, toward the very end.
Predaking maybe gets his a little more than the other 2. But,
Yeah. Not quite as over the top honorable as
Yeah.
say Beast Wars Dinobot.
yeah. Well,
don't
I
think
sort of
anybody's ever gonna
wanted...
top that.
Well, I sort of wanted Dreadwing to become that character.
Mhm.
I really liked that character. I felt like he had the qualities to
Definitely.
be that sort of Transformer Prime's
Dinobot.
Dinobot. And then he was just like, be good, Optimus. I'm gonna go, be really stupid. Uh, and so that was really disappointing. But
No Transmetal 2 for you.
well, he did get a character that his Beast Hunter's toy to me reminds me so much of Beast Wars Tigerhawk. I always
I can
felt like
see
his
that.
voice sounded a bit like
Yeah.
Megatron.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so I never got that, and I wanted it, but oh well. Um,
But
so on our show, we actually talked about Prime through its entire run up to the end of season 3. So we never really talked about Rising,
Predacons Rising.
which was the TV movie that came out after season 3 to sort of wrap it up. You know, we've already said spoilers plenty. So Bumblebee kills Megatron at the end of Prime, and he gets his voice back, and it sort of ends kind of flat because then we have this TV movie come in, and I feel like this TV movie did some good things, some not so good things. We had Unicron's return. He came back as taking over Megatron's body, sort of locks Megatron inside of his own mind. Oh, and by the way, Jonathan Noble, that's his name, right? Yeah, Jonathan Noble playing Unicron was awesome because I really liked Walter from Fringe, so that was pretty cool.
Yes.
Um,
That was excellent. I'm glad that he actually got into a
Yeah.
voice acting role instead of just being on stage.
but
Well said.
so we had that plot line. We have Predaking finding some other Predacons, basically pulling a Grimlock and beating them in submission. We had Bumblebee trying to be a leader, Optimus trying to save the world with a MacGuffin, like he always does. But we
We
sort of
never
got
once
some.
talked about Starscream.
What did start?
He does
yeah.
enough talking about himself already. We don't need to do it for him.
yeah,
Exactly. He was very arrogant throughout the whole thing.
Starscream was an amazing character.
he was.
I really liked
He
him.
was a very
Yeah.
amazing character.
I think this was.
Arrogant, but very amazing.
I think this was the first Starscream I really didn't want to reach through the screen and punch him, just for annoying me.
I like the Starscreams that annoy people.
Well, up to a certain point,
That's
but
kind of
after,
his thing.
yeah, I know, but
I just do.
it's just the mega doses of Megatron has stubbed his toe. I'm the leader now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he lost a little
Hey, you
bit
still
of
do
his thunder towards the end. They sort of went more cowardice with him than.
Yeah.
I loved the first
Hey,
episode.
somebody steal your T-com to see what happens to you.
Well, I mean, I loved the first episode where they're in the mines and he says something. I can't exactly remember the line exactly, but he drops the bomb, transforms, and flies out. And I'm like, this Starscream is awesome. It just instantly cemented him as, this is the Starscream that, that deserves to be called Starscream. I mean, there were others there has been a lot of good Starscreams, but this one was, I don't know, they did an amazing job with him.
Now,
So Don's talking, but his voice went away. For a minute, your mouth was
His lips
moving,
are
but
moving,
your
but
nose
nothing's
down.
coming out.
Like a Jeff Dunham puppet.
oh God, I'm Walter.
Oh god, it's Bruce Lee all over.
But back onto Predacons Rising. How did you guys feel that it wrapped the series up? How it established, suddenly Bumblebee's a sort of a character. Before then, he was just beeping like a minicon. And what did you guys feel about the Megatron, Unicron plotline.
Well, I'll say this, okay? As far as how it ended,
Yeah.
I could not help but laugh hysterically at the ending of Transformers Prime Beast Hunters. Here's why. Megatron made peace with Optimus, willingly disbanded the Decepticons. The war on Cybertron is over. Unicron has been imprisoned, the day is saved, and Optimus still dies. Like, really? Really?
Starscream still wants to be the leader.
Right. It's like, out of all that, everything's over, and he still has to die.
Exactly. It's just.
I mean, I think he needs therapy.
Yeah, he's a little bit suicidal, I think.
Like, the sun is shining on Cybertron. The Allspark is captured Unicron, and everybody's okay, and nope, gonna die.
Well, no, it was because the plotline was that he used the containment field to capture Unicron because Unicron at this point is pure energy. But by doing so, he had to absorb the energy that was in the container to begin with. So the only way to basically reignite Cybertron was to join with the core.
Yeah. Which, I mean, which is shades of Beast Machines.
True.
But
there was no Ultra Magnus saying, "Damn it, open."
I know. Well, no,
But this Ultra Magnus has time,
Yeah.
and he doesn't need to open things.
Yeah. Well, now
He just gets one of those
He's got a hammer this time.
He gets one of those rubber
hammer
things
time, right?
that you use to open lids, and he gets it open, and no problem.
He's got a hammer now. He has a hammer, so he can break it open.
That's another thing. Ultra Magnus, okay? You've got, what was the human organization? Silas's group.
Mech.
No.
Mech, yeah. You've got Mech, and they can create these drones and things. And, they have all this at their disposal. And you have Ratchet on Cybertron, and Shockwave, who can, between them, build entire Predacons. Why can't they reconstruct an Ultra Magnus hand? What's so hard about making a hand instead of just a little claw thing?
That's kind of like in the 24th century.
Strong hand.
I mean, that's like in the 24th century. Why is Picard still bald?
It's not that. He's so intelligent.
I ask you the same question, Doc.
That it like overrode his hair follicles.
Well, I mean, but they sort of established that with the whole TCOG thing, and that Transformers can't just replace or they can replace them, but they can't particularly just grow them back, or it takes a special method to forge one.
But this is a hand. It's just a hand.
Is the arm of Solus Prime laying around anywhere? kind of pop that on, or maybe a Minicon. Have a Minicon that turns into a hand.
Yeah. Well, here's
it'd be like the Transformer version of Vampire Hunter D.
The arms micron. I mean, come on, the arms micron can just like somehow
arms micron. It's an arms micron.
But what did you guys think about Megatron's conversion? Because for me,
it was a little quick.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a little. I mean, the reasons were there.
Underestimation.
Yeah.
Given how he explained it on screen, I was okay with it.
He was like, I've been tortured or subjugated or whatever, and I know how it feels now. It's like,
yeah, I mean,
Unicron just talked to you.
This is my question. What happens to Megatron now afterward? Does he become Thesaurus? Because that's the next step, isn't it?
I think he might go Sharkticon on us. I'm not sure on that.
He lives in Cybertron's sewers now. There's rumors that there's a giant monster in the sewers, and you can't.
Actually, those are his roommates, and they hang out down there and eat pizza.
Yeah, and they're called Shuds.
So So somehow
well,
this became Snaptrap. He's going to come out as a new Predacon.
Or he's going to go off to the wilds of Cybertron and become Volengiger at some point.
Wow.
But
That's an awesome one, too.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I got to say this about Predacons Rising because it just irks me. This, of all the things in Prime, this irks me the most. They've gone through all this together as a group, the human Team Prime and the humans. They've been together. They fought together. Hell, Miko got the Apex armor and kicked butt.
Yeah, that was fun.
And in the
That was hilarious.
in the entire Predacons Rising, the kids are not even mentioned by name or referred to other than our human allies.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that these humans that were a part of their group that helped them save the universe on more than one occasion aren't even on their mind. I know they're rebuilding Cybertron.
Dude,
But they
the
don't
computers, they reprogrammed themselves.
But I'm serious. I am an amateur writer. Okay, I am not.
During hypersleep.
Yeah, I am not a professional writer. You know, I am an amateur writer at best. But when you have characters that's part of your show, part of your mythos, and then you have the concluding arc of the mythos, and they're not even mentioned, it's just, to me, that's bad writing. Even if the kid, like when Ratchet bridges to Cybertron, they're not even there in character in the base behind him. And it's like, why did you leave out, even if they didn't do anything, a reference to their existence would have felt like, it's a shame the kids can't be, because you can't tell me Bumblebee wouldn't want Wrath on Cybertron with all this technology, or Miko wouldn't be running crazy with Bulkhead on the planes doing four-wheeling and stuff,
It's sort of like, wasn't it at the end of Cybertron, they sort of like wrapped up the kids in the future?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
I mean, this is Cybertron. This is Armada. This is the AEC trilogy that was notorious for being crap 95% of the time, and still went back and gave the characters from the earlier parts of the trilogies at least a cameo to show, hey, they're alive, they exist, they're relatively happy.
Which was not in the Japanese one, by the way.
Exactly. They went back and had them make that footage.
Yep.
But they did that for Cybertron, for Armada and Energon characters too, and they couldn't even mention the kid in Prime. Even as
just a little glimpse at where the kids are, or
what they're doing.
And
And I'm not trying to say Predacons Rising is bad for this one thing. I'm just saying, from a writing standpoint, that's a weak. Ignoring, you're ignoring core characters.
What I would have really enjoyed is if they would have brought him in and made him some type of like Power Master or something like that.
That is what I was hoping if we had gotten to season 4 or 5. See, when Raph by that Dark Energon, giving him a Power Master suit of armor to control the energies that was in his body.
When he should have died because I wanted him to die.
Yes, we know. Thank you. We know we have a deep hatred for Raph.
Son of a point.
I hate Raph.
But I'm just saying
he's a bad character.
No, he was a good character, not explored properly. There's a difference. But I'm saying in season 4, that could have come back as a problem. Put him in Power Master armor, and having gone from there, have him be Bumblebee's Power Master. I could easily see that happening. But I mean, again, it's what if.
He transformed into Bumblebee's voice box.
Yeah.
It wasn't he Bumblebee's voice box the whole series, anyways.
It would have been better if you just turned into a headmaster.
I can understand you.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Again, that's just bad.
Imagine all the crap that Raph can make Bumblebee say.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Raph was the character for all the bad plot lines. Like, I can hack into a super government network because I'm a 12-year-old with a laptop.
Well, I'm just saying that
every 12-year-old with a laptop can do that.
Yeah,
That's modern technology.
I just think if the kids had each gotten like, or at least one episode focusing on their home lives in 3 different parts and how their lives were interconnected now, just to flesh out their families and their backgrounds,
Yeah.
it just would have made more sense from a in-universe cohesiveness.
Yeah, because they were teamed up with, Bumblebee with Raph, Nico with Bulkhead, and Jack with RC. They could have had standalone episodes where each of the kids and their Autobot companion could have had some sort of misadventure at school or in town or something, and just focused around that, and trying to remain in disguise.
Yeah.
At that time.
Heck, you could have had the obligatory Thanksgiving episode about where the kids, eat, before the first commercial was one kid, the second commercial was the other 2 kids. I'm just saying, you could have had a very special holiday episode.
Yeah.
And the kids trying to juggle their home Thanksgiving with the Autobot Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, the kids could have shown the Autobots how to plant maize.
That's a bit
Fish.
I think
Next
that's Rescue Bots territory, not
Yes.
so much.
Next on a very special episode of Prime.
So here's here's the human wrap up. June Darby goes a little crazy. She has Optimus Prime plastered all over her house. I don't know. Jack and Miko end up together. I think that was sort of seemed like something that would happen. Raph gets arrested for national terrorism.
You are terrible.
And then the agent guy is an agent guy, so he just
You're
uses
hitting me.
He retires from the agency and goes back to the Ghostbusters.
There we go.
Burn me.
There we go. We wrapped up. Humans are dealt with.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm seriously though. It's just, I don't fault Predacons Rising for being. It was a good wrap up to the series. If Megatron's conversion was a little quick, that was story necessity. But just from a bad writing standpoint, forgetting the kids is one of the worst things I hate about the whole series. Is externals and just doing.
Well, and at the end of the day, it suffered from the same thing animated suffered from. Animated was canceled before it was intended to be canceled because they were switching to the hub, and then Prime was canceled before Prime was supposed to be canceled because they're switching back to Cartoon Network.
Yep.
No.
See here,
No.
Yeah.
No.
What I think is a
It's
really
Massey time.
yes.
No.
What I think is a really
time for
big
Massey
missed
time.
opportunity in Beast Hunters and Predacons Rising both is the fact that while we got them in the toy form, we never got Abominus, the Terracon.
Yes.
No.
Those characters
No.
would have helped flesh out the Predacon faction so much more. Steeljaw and not Steeljaw, let me think, Darksteel and Skylynx, I think, could have come in Season 3 Beast Hunters, and then Predacons Rising could have been the advent of the Terracons and Abominus.
Yeah, I mean,
like a blend between your zombie Terracon type Terracon and Predacon technology together, and Abominus could have been a zombie combiner.
yeah, they could have gone. I mean, it would
that
have been
could
nice to
your-
have seen
That
a
could have been the
lot
epic finale.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have seen a lot more of the Predacons.
Why are you being mean?
We obviously didn't get that many because Prime was using a very expensive kind of animation, so we got a handful of characters, and that's what we were gonna get.
Yeah.
But it definitely would have been nice to see that, and it's a bit of a shame that it didn't get to go as far as it could have. To an extent, I'm really excited for RID. Well, I'm at temper that excitement with a bit of reality that it's a kid show.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just saying,
I want the animated.
Don't say.
Since they had the Dark Energon controlling the Predacon bones, the skeletons, why they couldn't have, instead of having an army of random bones that were just generic throwaway models, just have
the
an
combined.
army of 5, Terracon, Predacon, whatever you want to call them, generals, if you will, serving Unicron, and those could have been the threat to the core of Cybertron, the Sparkle Primus.
Oh, that's super robust. That's awesome.
It would have been awesome, and
So we
instead
gotta
of
do a
all those
rewrite.
zombies, yeah.
Right. If you're gonna have Terracon and Predacon, just
Yeah, but they could copy and paste that one zombie 1,000 times, and it looks.
oh yeah.
But
Call the budget.
yeah, it would have been nice, but we got what we got. There was something I was thinking about.
Actually, as one of the
we-
Terracons, there were several of them that got a larger scale, weren't there? What is
Do we
that?
want to touch base on Transformers Go, considering the Abominus was technically only in those cartoons?
Different colors though, but yeah.
I mean, did any of us watch
Well, they
Go?
actually released them in 2 different color schemes.
Oh, did they? I know over here we had the standard and then the Target pack.
Right. Over there,
I didn't know about Transformers Go having a different.
They had the more screen accurate actually released over there.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Did anyone get into that line?
Don, didn't you say that you got hold of the combiner?
Yeah, I got hold of the first 3 combiners at BotCon because they're brave to me, and as a brave collector, I saw a lot of positive things in there. But then I got home and together, and they're still good individual figures, but combined, they lost a lot to me. Unfortunately, combined, and that's kind of the reason I wanted them was this combiner. But I like the first.
An entire. It's like they wasted that entire middle bot. Just.
He was kind of like the middle bot. He was kind of like.
I'll form the abs.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
I'll
JRX.
form the voice box.
Let's see. JRX was Rail Racer, Rail Spike, and Midnight Express, right?
Yeah.
Midnight Express was the middle bot. He's there just to be a torso, just for the other 2 to connect.
Well,
to.
and a jetpack.
Rapid Run.
I mean,
Was it Rapid Run?
yeah, it was Rapid Run, but he's at least
Rail Racer was
he at least is a jetpack.
Oh yeah.
Of sort. He forms 2 rocket boosters where these guys were just like, oh crap, where do we stick all this stuff?
Yeah,
hold it up.
that's why I didn't get the other ones. Unfortunately, it just there were brave homages there, but not enough for me to keep buying the line, especially the Optimus.
Was that the very first time we've ever seen Optimus Prime as a train?
I think so. Which I really like the idea.
Unless one of
Execution was terrible.
I mean, this is kind of a hint, nudge, because I know some people really don't get into the train bots. Unfortunately, we got that Power Rangers thing that came out. I'm not a big fan of that.
I guess technically there
particular
was
Power Ranger train combiner. I mean, it's cool, but I mean, I would absolutely love Hasbro to get off their butt and make us a Combiner Wars train robo that looks like Raiden, that could be repainted as Train Robo, that could be repainted as Six-Liner and as Six-Train. There are 4 characters you can make from that one robot. For God's sake,
but they're
being stupid. Make one.
They're not going. That's 4 characters that aren't going to sell because no one knows who they are. Hasbro's view on it.
Well, I mentioned this on RFC a week or 2 ago. I would love to see a Combiner Wars JRX Rail Racer. I would love to see. Because if they're not sure trains will sell, do it as 3 instead of doing it as 5 with the Scramble City things. I mean, you could do the other characters.
That or have the middle one be a bigger train that is the Voyager size that allows the other 2 to combine, and it makes a JRX.
Kind of like Mike Game.
These other ones, but then release the other ones so that way you can actually make a 5 combiner or 6 combiner. What's wrong with that? It's trains. You can hook them all together.
Well, the Sentai series in Japan that just ended up, Russia Sentai Tokyuger, was based on trains. And a lot of the Power Rangers and Sentai fans are wondering if they're even going to bother bringing that over at this point, because trains in America are not as part of the ongoing culture as it is in Japan. So they may be looking at it like, yeah, we could do these 3 trains, but if we use that money towards this 5-car set, that's whoever, then would that sell more? Which is the only thing I'm worried about.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I want more train.
Yeah.
I agree, and I don't know. I don't know why they're so adverse to trains. I mean, Thomas the Tank Engine has the largest section in Toys R Us.
Well,
Yes,
but yeah, but
so
it's
what's
a
the
different age
excuse,
group.
people?
It's a different age group, though. They're
Yeah,
still
but-
full. They're still full of imagination.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but I feel like
Because
a
Thomas Tank is
10-year-old.
like the best thing ever, right?
I feel like a 10-year-old is still thinks a train is cool. I mean, a 10-year-old me would, if I saw a train, I thought it was cool.
Oh yeah, it's just.
I mean,
You still like trains? Shut up.
Well,
now
what do
there's
y'all?
just that thing that sometimes comes through my town that sometimes I get stuck at a train track for.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I want to ask y'all, see what you, just see what y'all think. What do y'all think is the most important thing that came out of Prime, as far as like the legacy? What do you think Prime is going to be best remembered for?
I would probably say the engineering of the toys, because I think that's where they actually started learning how to make a well-engineered toy and it be stable, and actually a lot of the joints not really fall completely apart, and the transformation not be so
No, Massey.
complicated and difficult to the point that somebody
No.
has to
I
throw
don't
it at
know.
a wall.
I would give that to animated well before Prime.
Well, I mean,
No.
I think they got a lot of cues from that, but I think they also solidified a lot of the transformation stuff from Prime, because myself, being one of the ones that doesn't really like highly complex transformations, everybody knows I collect primarily nothing but Generation 1 and 2. I actually like these, and these I see a lot of cues coming from the Prime line, because there's a lot of
I don't know.
solid.
I mean, because a lot of my Prime figures, because I associate a lot of my Prime figures with a lot of panels that were hard to get in place.
Well, it's just, I
If
think
you
it
if you
depends
pick up
on
a
the.
Dreadwing and transform him, I guarantee you're not going to ever get his panels in place correct.
Yeah, but then when you look
I-
at Beast Hunters Prime, that was
But
literally
Beast
one of the best
Hunters
ones.
it did have some like Prime was simple, but he did hold together really well. But
Well, Wheeljack did too. Wheeljack it wasn't that complex. It had a couple things that were kind of tricky, but once you figured it out, it was easy. You know. And then, I mean, that's the reason why that mold was probably used as many times as it was, because that mold was reused several times. But I mean, honestly, I think the transformations were actually some of the best. I mean, especially with that Viacon. I mean, they shoved so much engineering into that thing.
Hi.
It wasn't that difficult to transform. It was actually fun. I think they brought back the fun factor of transforming something versus, oh my god, this is like a freaking Michael Bay moment. I want to throw it at the wall. You know. So, I think they brought it back, and a lot of the engineering cues will be going into stuff like this.
yeah.
So,
Well,
it was
the way
important
I'm
because
going to
of that draw.
answer your question, Don, is I think given enough time, Prime's not going to be remembered for doing anything. I don't think it really did anything. I don't think any of its plot lines were unique. I don't think. I mean, it wasn't even. I mean, Beast Wars arguably had. Towards Season 3 arguably had comparable animation to all of Prime. When it comes to robots are easy to animate. They look like robots. Humans definitely, yeah. I mean, humans definitely look way better, but it was still a lot of open environments with very little detail and stuff like that. I honestly never got any more awe out of it than watching season 3 of Beast Wars. You watch season 1 of Beast Wars, it's definitely noticeable, but and that you're talking about 20 years of difference.
Yeah.
And I don't think it introduced many characters that are gonna hang around it, because I mean, Bulkhead was introduced and animated. Um, it, I mean, there was nothing really. I don't think there was anything really unique about Prime that in 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 more cartoons that anyone is really going to recall. Unless they grew up with it, of course they're going to think it's amazing. That's how it always works. There is someone out there in our fandom right now that is like Energon is the best, and I hate TFYLP because they hate Energon. But
I like Energon.
I mean,
you're off the show. Get out.
I already was
I
once.
mean, there was some
Thanks
stuff
to
that came out.
American Telephone and Telegraph.
I mean, some of that Energon was okay. I would say there's maybe a few robots that came out of that had an all right, like, alt mode.
Well, I'm talking.
Robot, but
I mean,
then
but I'm
some of
talking
them
cartoon
was completely
more
horrible.
than.
Oh, the cartoon. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the Decepticons were good figures in Energon, but
Yes.
I think you're more likely to remember the shows than the toy line, given enough time, and for at least in my case, and I don't think Prime's going to be remembered for much.
Well, for me,
I would say the toy line probably.
for me, from the show standpoint, I think it'll be a cue for a lot of future writers who've realized they can do a season-long story arc in Transformers, and that you can have important integrated human characters as part of the story, rather than just your audience identification characters.
You can never go anywhere with them. Sorry.
Well, no, I'm saying,
It's
but it was sort of like I want them to be able to get to the point where they can write Transformers arcs like Straczynski wrote a Babylon 5 arc. Granted, it's going to take a while to get there,
Yeah.
but I think Prime was a good step in doing a season long. I mean, Animated did it as well, but it wasn't quite as
Yeah.
you had this focus on every episode, or at least every couple of episodes, that you knew that this arc was still ongoing. Animated could go 2 or 3 episodes and nothing even happened.
Yeah, I mean, it took the Beast Wars approach more than Prime did.
Right. But that's what I think. Now again, like Plasticon said, the toy line I think will be remembered for some really, like the Viacon. That Viacon mold is still loved by a lot of people. But that's what I hope Prime is remembered for from the story standpoint. Is you can tell these arcs and have important human characters that aren't just there as mouthpieces.
Honestly, the Viacon itself, just the name. Can you guys remember one time where the Viacon had been that popular that somebody was like, "Oh yeah, the Viacon," and everybody knows what the heck it is? You can't.
I mean, anyone like me who grew up around that time my brain automatically defaults to the Viacon, faction.
Yeah, Beast.
They don't live in popularity. They live in, infamy. But
not many people know that.
Yeah. Well, given enough time.
When I look back at the story arcs, like when I look back to story arcs and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, okay, drone Transformers. The only time we really had drone Transformers way early was after Generation 1. It was actually in the G2 comics. Every single solitary troop that G-Axis had was a drone. So those were the early versions of vehicles.
Could we count the ones in the Kita Vector Sigma?
Or the sweeps.
They seem sentient to me.
No. The sweeps just share the same lifestyle, but they're
If you're using sentience, the Viacons and the
When I'm
minor
talking like
drones, they
massive armies helping
yeah.
the other faction,
Sweeps had
Generation
dialogue.
two.
You're talking about the
They have
sweep.
spoken
You're
lines.
talking about the Insecticons. The Insecticons could duplicate themselves to
Yeah.
an infinite amount.
Yeah, but they were considered Insecticons. They weren't considered.
Which is why they keep getting
vehicles. They were
reissued.
turned into a vehicle.
$50 a pop.
The whole I guess the whole definition of Viacon is it turns into a vehicle. The only ones I know of that even really did that were out of Generation 2.
So everybody's a Viacon.
No. Well, in their own right, but I'm talking about like a drone type. I mean, in the G2 comics, I know some of you guys have never read them, but they are in there.
Well, but I mean, they're called
literally are in there.
Viacons because they are mass. You know, they are the same character in mass numbers, which was exactly like the Viacons from Beast Machines.
Mhm.
I mean, that's where the name comes from.
Then again, the Generation 2 comic came out before that.
So what would that also go for? Say the Terracons and Omnicons in Energon? Would they fall in that category too?
I mean, yeah,
think so.
yeah, yeah. I guess if you want to even call them characters,
RC?
they were like drones of the most. Like Omnicons were a bit more characters than the
RC.
Terracons were just there to be on the screen for a second before they exploded into green.
That's the whole definition of a Viacon. It's cannon fodder. That's what they were.
Yeah.
The walking explosion. But
they
RC,
were,
RC was an Omnicon too.
Yeah, but the Viacons did have some characterization. You had dialogue between them and Starscream, and you had dialogue between the two of them.
Yeah, but
I
the ones
really
that they considered that they call him Gary. They give him
well,
some
no,
generic
I mean
name. Like that's
we
Fred and George.
as a fandom we all started
Bob
calling him
and Bill.
Steve, but he was still a Viacon.
I must have a Transformer named Gary now.
I mean, everyone
Must
called the
transform into a
Viacon
snail.
Steve, but I was really sad that at the end of Prime they didn't show like one lonely Viacon, and he was like, "I'm unique," you know, like everyone else is dead. I'm the victor.
You know what would have been good is if they had a Viacon that was similar to like Bob, Agent of Hydra. It's kind of the standalone, unique character for no apparent reason. Just that here he is. He went on like different misadventures with Deadpool and things. That probably would have been interesting. It had like one Viacon that stood out from the others.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you did have the silver ones that came in, and they're supposed to be like general leaders.
Yeah, we did get those. Yeah, the gray ones with the white flyers.
Are you a flyer? Nope.
I love that flyer design though. It
I
looks
still
like a
think
car
that's one of the
wings.
best lines ever Wheeljack said.
Yep.
Or even one of the Viacons maybe getting tired of fighting for the Decepticons and switch to the Autobots.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of y'all. I'm tired of this war. I want this crap over with.
I saw somebody that took a Viacon toy and repainted it and gave it flames and made it look like Rodimus, and it looked good.
Well, that mold worked for a lot.
I really wished Hasbro would just literally, if they're going to do Combiner Wars, why don't they just take the Viacom mold, since it's so well known and loved? Literally take that same mold. You don't have to retool or maybe retool the head and such.
The head, yeah.
But turn that into freaking Rodimus.
I don't want my Generations line to turn into Universe.
It's going to happen anyway.
Although, if
they take a Generations character and turn him into another Generations character, it's one thing, but keep Prime out of there.
Well,
if the Viacon was designed after the Batmobile, then would the Rodimus one be a Robinmobile? the red and yellow.
That's Well, I
That's
have to
awesome.
say,
But you gotta put a big G2 logo on the front of it to make it even
Yes,
better.
yes, there we go.
There you go.
wow.
That'll sell it. That'll sell it.
Apparently, our Prime conversation has gone insane.
Well,
Of course.
we can talk about one more thing though. You got the BotCon exclusive stuff with the Machine Wars and all that,
Ah,
where they reused those molds already with the Megaplex. That was done from the
Yeah,
Dreadwing
they
mold.
used him for
That was from the Dreadwing.
yeah.
I mean, it's already happening. You guys out there are complaining about Universe and stuff.
Yeah,
like
but I don't
Oh, yeah.
consider those mainline. I mean, that's like, you know, that's like including a lucky draw into, you know, anything.
Yeah.
They're unique. That's really BotCon's fiction.
that
and
did
not
kind of
so
happen
much-
once, technically. The Emerald Green Unicron.
Yeah.
That was a lucky draw, wasn't it? And that was based on the green Minicon version of Unicron in the End of Armada.
Yeah.
I
mean, it happens, but it's
so I don't know if it would work in Prime though.
yeah, it's
You know,
I know
but,
they're going to use those molds, but when it's FunPub, who cares? They're just using whatever they can get a hold of.
Yeah.
If it's an official Hasbro product, you know, I think as a collector, I'm past the point of accepting that. If this was 11 years ago, it would have been totally acceptable to use figures from various lines in a generation
one mold
line,
we
but
never did talk about was the Cup/Ironhide mold.
I never got that mold.
That
They
was
released it as the
amazing.
wrong character.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the
I know the
deluxe.
bigger one, but I don't have that one.
I
I'm
had
talking
both.
about the books too, and they released him as the wrong character.
I
That's the problem.
had both, and to be honest, they were amazing. I mean, the truck mold was beautiful. The robot mold was excellent. I had no qualms whatsoever with those. I really wish they would have brought Cup into the actual cartoon. It would have been great. But
Well, I wish they would have brought Ironhide. I mean, it's not Cup, he's Ironhide.
no.
That was the
I
problem.
liked it actually.
that
I liked
matter.
it better in the green than the red.
For that matter, could you
Because for
imagine
me-
if they would have brought in Cup and Ironhide as a pair of old Cadre Autobots, and they would have had some sort of dialogue with Ratchet? That would have been an entertaining episode.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome. We could have done that. Come on, Hasbro.
Yeah.
We're stupid. Think about this.
It did.
oh,
Could have been like the Three
Well.
Stooges.
well,
I needed that.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh Lord.
I think all of us are going to have, well, except for Cyburn, who apparently doesn't think Prime's going to be remembered for anything. But
It'll be
I think
remembered for being a show.
but I think a lot of us though will keep fond memories of Prime in the wild. But I'll just finish up by saying I hope that Robots in Disguise, when it starts tomorrow. Now it may be a while before it does any major tie-ins other than just maybe some name dropping. But I do hope we do get a sense of continuity, because it's very hard to look at RID as a sequel to Prime as it is bare bones right now, other than Bumblebee being Bumblebee. So I'm hoping they do tie it in properly with a lot of good cameos later on, a lot of maybe not even just cameos, but actual previous characters. You know, get Fowler in there, get maybe a cameo. Maybe someone's rushed to the hospital, Darby in the hospital in Crown City.
Yeah.
But when they start doing the cameos, I hope it's with the same characters, same voice actors, if possible.
Well,
Just so we can get that sense of unity between the two series.
I guess it depends on how far it's set future, because we do see cityscapes in already.
But I'm saying, but people aren't driving around in hover cars, and they're not driving.
Oh, yeah,
it's not movie 2005 yet.
They've had time to rebuild Cybertron, And so,
Nico's a widow. Raph's in a nursing home.
yeah,
Drinking his orange juice.
you know,
Fowler
because,
and June are dead.
yeah, they're not afraid of his national terrorism anymore because he's so
Right.
old.
God. Man holds a grudge.
Right?
Hey, anybody who listened to those old episodes will know that I've remained consistent.
You are our ratchet.
But oh, so this is one thing I do, and I always wish with Prime is I did wish they would have brought, because they took Bumblebee and they took Optimus and they put them into Rescue Bots, and I always wish that they had taken Heatwave, Boulder, Chase, and Blades and brought them into Prime,
Yeah.
because
Well,
they are good characters, and I
Boulder
really
and
wanted to see them
Bulkhead
in
would have
Prime.
been awkward.
What's that?
Boulder and Bulkhead would have been awkward.
I could see that, like the animated episode with the Constructicons and Bulkhead,
Yeah.
but
Oh, just because they look so similar. I mean, for that matter, you might as well have Hound walk in too, just to confuse matters even further.
Yeah. Well, actually,
Come on, man. Hound gets no love anymore, man.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
You got John Goodman. That's good enough for me.
it's a little
Yeah.
disappointing. Yeah.
That's not Hound. That's Bulkhead.
Yeah.
It's Bulkhound.
No, I don't.
But
I
we
would
did.
rather that be Hound than Bulkhead, because Bulkhead to me is still animated Bulkhead.
Yeah.
But now, one thing we did ask at BotCon last year, if there's any way that we could ever see, them show up in, at all, in the two shows. And apparently, somehow, I don't know how, but apparently, all of Rescue Bots so far, up until the start of season 3, took place during season 1 of Prime.
Oh.
And with Rescue Bots, the adventure comes from rescuing and not war. So you would have a real hard time having the Rescue Bots show up and not be a part of the war in their own because they wouldn't show up and then just leave and go back.
Well, I mean, but that's why I think
Yes, they could.
RID.
They could be like the Protectobots.
Well, that's why I think RID is the place for them to sort of make their appearance to older fans. I mean, because RID is. I mean, let's face it, RID is as much a sequel to Rescue Bots, even though Rescue Bots is still running, as it is to Prime. I mean, they're going with an art style that's a bit of a compromise between both series.
And
You have something that's you have something that's on the animation side, it's not as rough as Rescue Bots. Rescue Bots has that sort of derpy like flash animation.
Yeah.
And what I've seen of RID has been really fluid and really nice. But it's still that animation style that's a lot cheaper, easier to produce.
Yeah,
And,
I noticed the quality in the frame rate that the new RID uses.
Yeah.
That's a little bit distracting.
Well, next week, myself and John DeLuna go into this more next week. But since the show starts tomorrow, I'm asking. This is just something all longtime fans, people that watch Prime, before everyone starts making judgments, just watch the show tomorrow and then make your own call. And just when y'all get on the boards tomorrow and talk about it, everybody please keep it civil.
Seeing it.
Civil.
I'm ready to.
Wait. You said civil. Does that even exist in this fandom anymore?
weren't you
You don't
part of
people
that?
judge about anything that comes out.
Hold on. Well,
I'm just-
yeah, that was last week's episode.
Once Truck Not Monkey happened, all bets were off. It was game over.
Well, it's just that's. I just want RID to get the fairest shake possible from all the fans, not just the target audience. And I just don't want a lot of people.
I think I think you always hear the loudest and most negative people because they have the most to say.
Oh my god, the new Devastator's head's too big and his foot looks like a derp. Get over it.
Yeah.
Well, they could always switch them around.
That's what I'm
but
saying.
but
Let's make
yeah,
his head like the
so
size of a fucking hook.
you're gonna hear negative, and we've heard negative. Um, but I mean, you look at the way I'm coming into this is when I first saw animated character models, they showed the Optimus Prime, which to this day that's still the worst picture of Optimus Prime. Um,
Oh, the one where he's doing this.
yeah,
He's
the
sort
very
of
first
doing.
picture.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not good. That's not a flattering
Um,
picture.
and I was like, this is gonna suck. What are they doing? I love animated. I mean, I bought this thing. I'm reading through this textbook size. I mean, it's a lot of art.
Yeah.
There's
He
not
doesn't read,
too much
guys.
to
He
read.
looks at pictures.
But I mean, animated turned out to be something special. It's and so I'm going into this really with that frame of mind. Though my love for animated has sort of fostered sort of a fondness for the art style that they're going for already. I think it has a lot of the same sort of stylings to it. But and they're saying it's targeted for younger kids, but the pitch of animated that it was targeted for younger kids, but it ended up telling some serious stories in the process.
Heck,
It's-
spoiler, Prowl dies at the end. That's,
Yeah.
pretty heavy.
That'd make a good movie title.
Right.
Prowl dies at the end.
Great Scott!
I mean,
Prowl dies.
I kind of hate to break this to people. It's like, I think with the way everything's being brought out now, everybody's like, oh, well, it's got to be warm, fuzzy for kids. Does anybody remember reading the Generation 2 comics?
Oh, God, yes.
They were very brutal.
Well, heck, in issue 2, they
People
killed
die in that.
Spot Andrews.
Yeah, a lot of stuff ends up happening in it. It's insane what happens in those comics. And
But that was the
Well-
target audience. I mean,
And it was the
it was
90s.
extreme.
It was
Extreme.
because of the
Everything
90s.
was extreme in the 90s. Ghostbusters were extreme in the 90s.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
where's my Ghostbusters Extreme movie?
I know, right? Oh wait,
That may be in the pipeline.
Female cast, and then now Sony's rethought it because of so much hate in the fandom.
Well, they're still doing the all-female one, but they're going to follow up with an all-male one too. Supposed to be bringing in Channing Tatum.
Oh,
Yeah.
so now we got to
Well,
make
'cause I
think
Channing Tatum and,
something that hasn't even been fully written yet.
yeah. Going on Ghostbusters. So we
Hey, guys,
planned
let's just do this. Let's just not make another Ghostbusters movie and leave it alone.
Yeah, that's a better solution.
Same thing with Back to the Future.
But we've been going for about 2 hours and 20 minutes now. So, I mean, I think we've talked about Prime probably as much as we can talk about Prime. So, I mean, we're all looking forward, hopefully we're, all looking forward to, to the future of Transformers, to something new. Transformers has to keep changing and keep evolving. And so, tomorrow already starts here in America, and what are you guys' real quick, what are you guys' hopes for the series?
Well, I hope I hope I hope it winds up tying back into Prime strongly, so you get the full sense of continuity, and we get some questions answered that we didn't get answered at the end of Prime.
Yeah. What about you, Jim?
I personally hope that it's going to prolong the fandom. People aren't going to rage and get mad about it. I think it's going to. I hope it really sparks a new cartoon spin-off to come directly off of this, or give us new ideas to go into the future and build a whole new series. One of the two. That's what I'm hoping from the entire thing. And you guys need to quit raging about toys. Stupid. They're toys, guys.
Jim,
Honestly,
you've seen most of it, more of it than the rest of us, so you're coming at it as a bit of a different perspective. But
I always do.
well, what I've seen thus far, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it seems like they're trying to introduce a lot of the characters, the Autobots and Decepticons, a lot of your rogues gallery, as quick as possible, so they can probably just use them throughout this season. But I'm hoping that they take time throughout the season and the rest of the series to really flesh out the characters so that we care about the characters, because I've seen all too often where, here's a new character and all of a sudden, hey, he's dead, or whatever, and not just in Prime either, but just almost throwaway characters, or they'll recycle names, and I want to have a name brought back, or even a new name, an original character, and I want to care about that character. It doesn't have to be in depth like Darcy and Cliffjumper was. But for instance, would be I don't know, robots in the skies. They had the Predacons that kind of had their banter back and forth, and you got to know a lot about their personality and interaction with Skybite. It wasn't just random grunts. I mean, they were, but
yeah, they were the comedic relief.
yeah, but at the same time, you got to see a lot of their personality too.
Yeah.
Through that, and I'd like to see a lot of personality develop in this new incarnation of Robots in Disguise.
And the
And
first
also, I want to see
season
Cyber.
Yeah. The first season is always definitely the hardest. I think even Prime suffered that a bit, where how many of those characters did you care for that weren't Ratchet by the end of that first season? Because the old curmudgeon he won fans over fast, but did you really care? I mean, RC was just an angry,
Well,
character, and Prime stoic and boring.
yeah, that's still a Prime thing. That's starting to bug me a bit too. But anyway, as far as that Ratchet goes, I thought a lot of that carried over from the animated incarnation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that helped a lot in that, and all kind of pre-established that version of Ratchet.
Yeah.
As an older war dog.
Yeah. So Tobias, what are you looking for with Rid?
I think it's continuity, like Don said. We got a follow-up from the Prime show. Some unanswered questions and so on. I totally agree on that. It ended not with a bang, with a whimper.
I agree with you there. For me, I just hope that Steeljaw's awesome because of David K.
Yeah.
I think having a wolf-looking, character is actually kind of really unique.
Yeah.
I hope we see more of that kind of stuff, because I like when they bring in new stuff. I mean, kind of off subject, but I mean, even when they bring in a new character, they call it Alpha Bravo. That's a new character. I like seeing new characters, because new characters, I think, really fills in a line. It makes you think, okay, what would that character have been way back when I was a kid?
Slingshot.
Think about it. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Slingshot. But
and they've got a Decepticon lobster creature called Bisque.
That is hilarious.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really I really do like the styling they're going with the Decepticons. It's very unique. I like one of my favorite alternators was that Ravage mold at the end that transformed from the Jaguar into Ravage.
The second Ravage.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the first one was Battle Ravage, so
Yeah.
the second one was actually called Ravage.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. I really liked that. I was like, um, the idea of them transforming from vehicles into something that's not humanoid, which is one of the things I never really bugged me too much about the movies. And everyone's like, "Oh, chicken-legged Decepticons, and why do they
Yeah.
look like monsters?" And I was like, "You know what? Um, they're
Alien
aliens,
robots.
and they're the bad guys." And I sort of like that. I was like, you could tell they're the bad guys. They're big, they're imposing, they don't look friendly. You know, having them all look like take cues from animals, I think is really clever. It makes them stand apart from the very human-looking, Autobots.
Well, that's one reason why I think I really liked the whole Master Force series, because
Yes.
you have a lot of pretenders in there. It's like this pretender looks like a creature. Well, that's because they looked like that was a Decepticon. That was the bad guy. That's where I see a lot of that, and I see those cues from them. I'm like, yes, please do more of that because I like that. It completely goes the wayside for everything else. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on that. I think it's a great thing. I think they need to do more of that.
Oh, one thing I wanted to bring up. This is at TFW.com. I forgot about this. Apparently, there's a live tweet with the premiere tomorrow. There's a live tweet session March 14th at 3 p.m. Pacific with the cast and crew during the premiere of RID on Cartoon Network.
Huh.
So I want to just mention that before we close out.
Nice. I was not aware of that.
So we've talked Prime, we've talked our ID. I think we've covered all the bases. Before we go, I want to go ahead. We've been trying to mention some upcoming shows or shows that are sort of local shows that may go unnoticed. And in particular, this week we're going to go ahead and mention the Lexington Comic Con. It's actually going on right now. It opens to the public tomorrow and Sunday. And apparently, it's going to have Jimmy Bullock, some Power Rangers, Walter Koenig, Peter Mayhew, and a bunch of other guests. So go check that out if you're in the Lexington area.
Indiana Comic Con's going on this weekend too. Carrie Fisher is there, but I'm not sure who else.
All right. So this is something we're trying to do. If you're listening and you run some sort of event, if it's just a local meetup, if it's a small conventions, anything like that, we'll give you a shout out, let people know about you.
Yeah.
You can go to our Facebook group and hit up any of the cast members and make sure that you get seen.
And also, don't forget, if you live in the Atlanta area or in Georgia or wherever in the surrounding area, Joe Lanta is also running this weekend. Brian Kilby of Radio Free Cybertron, along with Rob Springer and Diecast, will be there. So if you see them, be sure to say hey. Joe Lanta it was a GI Joe convention. Now it's a GI Joe and 80s and 90s toy convention. So if you've got some free time and want to go check it out, just look them up online.
Yep. So you guys can find us on Facebook at the Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure group. Go there, follow, or join. You'll be added by one of the admins. You can join in discussions with fellow fans. We all post on there very often. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there. You can follow Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure on Twitter. I think it's
At
TFYLP. And we have an Instagram. I'm not sure what that one is.
But obviously, we got tftalk.net. That's
Yeah,
where you guys can find everything is literally compiled there. So
yeah.
if you're having issues trying to find us, just go there and you'll find everything. You also get a link directly to my reviews at Plasticon Reviews or Plasticon Studios. I do a lot of the more retro reviews. I've also been doing some really weird, obscure stuff and some customs that I also do as well. Because, you know me. I'm always
You know, like G2 Power Master Prime.
Oh, well, G2 Power Master Prime. Well, I happen to have one.
Hey,
Yes,
what a coincidence!
Like, look. This is Generation 2. This is black. That's silver. It's not G1. It's also got this sexy, nice red stripe.
Nice.
So,
And so
keep
you
in
can
mind, you'll end up seeing reviews of that in the future here soon, too.
yeah, you can also find us on YouTube, Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, TFYLP. Search that in the search bar, you'll find us. If you're listening to this audio only, we do this show live every Friday at 9 p.m. unless
Not 9-ish.
yeah, at 9ish, unless Google is being a pain or any of the
Issues.
other technical issues that might pop up. But we typically do this once every week. So you can come join us if you're on the Facebook group. You'll get a nice event that tells you when it's going to happen. And you can be part of the show live as it's happening. Give us your inputs, and we might even address them on the show. So, once again, we had Don. Go ahead and say your goodbyes.
Well, goodbye.
Yeah,
Goodbye from me and Massey.
I don't host very often. You can tell. We had Jim.
Goodbye, Crew World.
Jason.
I'll see you guys later.
And all the way from across the pond, we had Tobias.
Yeah. Bye. And goodbye.
Sweden's #1 export.
Yeah.
So if you
Followed
guys
by
need
crap
any
or not.
kind of
Just
European toys, you know who to go to now.
Yeah. Hey, Tobias, when's the next Crap or Not coming out?
Yes. When are you doing more crap or not?
Yeah, we're doing more crap or not. Actually, I uploaded a couple of episodes to Weird Wolf this week, so hopefully
Awesome.
they will be on.
Nice.
Hey. I got one question, though. You got a ton of Lego behind you. Are you going to do any crap or not on Lego?
I could do that. We could do
Do it.
non-Transformers
Do it.
crap or not.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Do it.
How about Creo?
Do
Creo
that too.
also,
Creo,
yeah. Absolutely, that's Transformers, so I
Seriously,
haven't
just
thought
do
of
it.
that.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'll do that.
There you go.
All
Right. Well, I'm Cyber2. I've been your host. Hope you guys have a good time, and we'll see you next time.
But take care.
Bye.
All right, guys.
Toodles.
Bye.